Welcome to r/entitled people, where we share stories from your lives about people who think the rules don't apply to them and they should get what they want. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel and for so many likes. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story. When customers violated the rules, I used my wit and authority to offer them an ultimatum. The second story. EM demands a truck that isn't released yet and thinks we hide them in the back. Sneaks off to the shop and tries to find it. The third story. After I quit, I told other employees to leave, and I also sent a letter about the company to the union. The first story is that time I nearly kicked out an entire Christian softball league. I worked in the hotel industry 20 plus years ago, so this isn't a recent story, but still fits. The town my hotel, 200 rooms, was in was a population of about 50,000 and 4 other smaller hotels, so the occupancy filled up quickly. The cities that had other hotels were 30 minutes to 2 hours away, so if you didn't have a reservation, you would be up a creek, and if you were kicked out of a hotel, be prepared to drive to find another room. This was pre-convenient cell phone days. The internet was AOL chat rooms and Yahoo groups, and our computer system was just implemented in the hotel, so we were running DOS. Everything was low-tech. Now on to the story. Height of summer, and we're hosting several teams of Christian softball players. Apparently they had their own league and played by their own rules. They took up about 3 out of 4 of the hotel occupancy that weekend. The teams all checked in at 3 as they had a strict schedule and were all expected to follow it. There was a meeting at 4. We were given a copy of the itinerary, and then the night was theirs to do what they wanted, and they all wanted to use the pool area. It all seemed fine until they started kicking other guests out of the pool and complaints were rolling in at the front desk. Y'all, I went out to the pool and it was full-on Margaritaville. They've commandeered the pool, set up a buffet of crock pots and food and coolers full of drinks. All glass bottles, which is a huge no-no all the way around. At this point, I'm looking for the person in charge when he finds me instead. This guy is 6'5", buff, carrying a beer bottle and a plate of food, and wants to know why I'm looking for him. I explain that this violates the pool rules. They cannot have food or glass in this space, and they cannot stop other guests from using the pool. He proceeds to scream at me that I'm just an effing little girl who cannot tell him what to do, and spends about 5 minutes screaming in my face every obscenity that he knows. This is what they always do regardless of the rules. He speaks for the tournament and how he will make me regret approaching him, that they're going to do what they want to do because they paid for the rooms. Everyone else in the pool is dead silent, and then they start to clap because he told me off. This is the show they've all been waiting for before they go back to doing what they do. Now, likening the previous story, I did not have anyone I could call, so here's how this went down. I looked at him and spoke quietly enough that only he could hear me because I was not going to take this, and I was way more afraid of the hotel owner than I was of him, but the owner would have my back on this. That this may be how it worked at other hotels, but not how it was going down here. I was prepared to call the owner of the hotel and the cops, who could both be here in 10 minutes. If you work in a hotel, you know you already know the local PD on a first-name basis, to remove him and the entire league from the property. Because he threatened me in front of witnesses, I'd press charges. That I have everyone's contact information in our system, and they will all be banned from any chain property going forward, and that the owner will be contacting the league and cancel their contract for future stays this summer. However, if he's willing to work with me here, I'll accommodate his group, and I have an empty conference room set up for a party that's happening tomorrow. Tables and chairs are set up but otherwise empty. They can store their food and drink there. They can socialize there, and if they leave it as clean as they found it, I won't charge them for the space. That was their option. If they wanted to leave the hotel, they could also do that without refunds, but the closest hotel that could accommodate them is over 2 hours away. He stood there verbally bee-slapped and angry, but realized he was not getting his way. He must have decided that it was not worth the argument and started telling people to move the food and drink to the conference room. Everyone meekly started packing up and wondering what I said to him. I waited for them to move everything to the conference room and then left the pool area. I went back to the office behind the front desk and sat for a moment. That was the most bad A move I have ever made at that point in my life, and I was overwhelmed. The rest of the night I monitored the pool area, the conference room, and the hotel. I did not have one iota of trouble from the teams. Many had been told what happened and stopped by the front desk to thank me for not kicking them out, and promised there wouldn't be any trouble. The next morning I checked the conference room. It was completely emptied and cleaned out. It was pristine. By 9 a.m. everyone was checked out and at the tournament. But we received a lot of compliments about how wonderfully accommodating the hotel was, and how great it was that we provided a space to them for free. The next week, I received an outstanding letter giving me kudos on behalf of the league, signed by the guy who tried to intimidate me and curse me out, saying they would be model guests as long as they were allowed to stay in the future. Hilarious. It sounds like you went full-on mafia boss on that Christian softball league. Who knew that the power of threatening to ban someone from all chain hotels could be so effective? And the fact that you were prepared to press charges and call the police just adds to the gangster vibe. It's like you were one step away from putting on a pair of brass knuckles and threatening to break some kneecaps. But all jokes aside, it's impressive that you were able to stand up to that aggressive guy and defuse the situation in such a clever way. The second story is, you hide the new cars in the back. I saw it online. I work in a car dealership and have recently been promoted from move them to whatever department they're needed in that day to full-time salesman. We constantly have to tell people that certain vehicles haven't been released yet, or that they don't even exist. Today, a woman and her 20-something son came in and walked right up to me and immediately started barking orders. EM, entitled mother. S, son. M, me. SM, service manager. EM, pull up the 2021 F-150 Titanium, red, leather. M, I'm sorry ma'am, the 2021 isn't going to be released for a while. We do have some 2019 F-150s here that you can take a look at. EM, what do you mean you don't have them in? I saw online that they're on sale. M, they aren't released yet ma'am. If you're set on the 2021, though, I can set an email notification that will let you know the second we get them on our lot. S, my friend drives a 2019, so I need a 2021. M, the 2019 is definitely a good one. It's a popular choice among young men, and has a good towing capacity as well. S, you have 2020s out for other cars, why don't you have a 2021? M, we usually release vehicles for the corresponding year. Our designers take the time to make sure everything is just right and perfect for our customers. EM, don't effing lie to me. I've read the articles on how you hide the new releases in the back and F around with them. Then you take your sweet A time milking money out of us with the old ones. M, I promise you that's not the case. We usually learn from the same sources that you do when everything will be officially released. EM, I need to think this over. Where's your restroom? I point her to the restroom and she takes her son along. I spend the next minute or so logging the conversation. Suddenly I hear one of our service techs over the PA. Can we have a salesman come to the shop immediately? It takes a second to register, but I soon realize what has happened. Our restroom is located in the same hallway as the door to the shop, which is labeled with a big sign saying employees only. I sprint to the shop only to see EM walking around screaming at the techs to tell her where we hide the trucks, while S is chilling by the door. The techs have no idea how to respond, and are doing their best to keep her away from the vehicles that are being worked on. I run over her and start to panic thinking that she might get hurt. After all, we were surrounded by heavy machinery and she was strutting around like she was on the sales floor. M, ma'am, please come back up to the sales floor. It's very dangerous back here. EM, we pay our tax dollars to fund this. I have more rights here than you do. M, ma'am, please listen to me. I need you to come back up front. EM, why? Because you're scared I'll expose your lies? At this point, the service manager had made his way into the back. He's a no-nonsense kind of guy, and looked like he was about to drag her out by her collar. SM, ma'am, customers are not allowed back here. I need you to follow your sales associate up front or I'll have to inform the police. You're trespassing. EM, and who the F do you think you are? SM, I'm the service manager. It's my responsibility to ensure that our employees work in a distraction-free environment, and you screaming is a definite distraction. EM, then tell me where the 2021 F-150s are. SM, they are not out yet. Please go up front or I'll have you removed by the police. EM, how about you F off and stop lying? I'm not stupid. EM then tries to walk past him only for him to step in front of her. SM, this is your last warning, ma'am. Go back up front or I'm calling the police. EM, you would lose a sale because you won't admit you're wrong? SM pulls out his phone and dials 911. As he begins talking to the operator, EM runs back up front, S trailing behind. They get in their car and drive off, scraping another customer's car in the process. I thank SM for saving my butt and decide to take an early lunch to calm down, knowing I have to file a heat case report once I get back. So far, we haven't heard anything from her, and hopefully we don't get any complaints, but we'll just have to see. Update. We managed to get her license from the security cameras. Police set out a warrant. We also learned that she went to both of our sister stores and tried to pull the same thing, but they caught her sneaking around before she could get to the back. GM is currently trying to press charges for trespassing and hit and run. It's officially out of my hands. Hey there, car salesman extraordinaire. I have to hand it to you. Dealing with an entitled mother who thinks you're hiding new cars in the back must have been quite the ride. I mean, who knew that the real reason why 2021 F-150s weren't available yet was because you guys were secretly racing them in the service department? Kudos to you for keeping your cool, even when the EM was wreaking havoc against the heavy machinery. And let's not forget about her son, who was so insistent on getting a 2021 that he couldn't even appreciate the glory of the 2019 model. But it's all in a day's work, right? I can only imagine the sigh of relief you let out when the SM swooped in to save the day. All in all, a hilarious and wild story that can only happen in the world of car sales. And the last story is, I quit, sung like a bird to the union, and watched my old workplace become a utopia for unqualified staff. I live in Australia, probably relevant due to the union strength, and worked a job for a company that provided managed service, IT help desk, 22 staff, and desktop support, 10 staff. I worked there for about 5 years total and was the only person to get career progression. One of the desktop support guys left and I went from service desk to desktop support, beating 12 other candidates. Anyway, we were overworked and underpaid, which seems to be the norm. The expectation was that service desk were IT savvy and it would at least troubleshoot issues before sending to desktop support. After I had been desktop support for about 6 months, all 12 of the service desk analysts who wanted the desk support role had found work elsewhere. We're all still friends, almost have like survivor guilt with how strong our bonds are, like we survived working at X. I should also mention that no pay rises had occurred in 10 plus years, and due to the contracts being short-term and often working without a contract due to late renewal of the business, we supported there was no negotiation. Talking to a union was considered taboo and against the law. Absolute lie. Hell, a colleague asked for a pay rise and got offered 3 free counseling sessions because obviously wanting more money means you're crazy. So the service desk needed new staff, but no technical people were available, so they hired bums to fill seats. Customer service staff that could only log and flog tickets to desk support with no troubleshooting. Desktop support or drowning in tickets and overtime is available as much as you want. I was on $28 an hour, but was charged out at $150 an hour. My dream job, not really but has led to a pretty great job, opened up at another company and I got the role. I gave my 2 weeks notice. On my last day, I was asked to say a few words, as in my time I had been viewed as a role model and had fostered great relationships. I told the staff to get out, that the leadership is actively working against them and to join the union. After I left, I gave a tell-all email with enough ammunition to make America quake straight to the union. Within 4 months, the union had done more than anyone there ever could have ever dreamed of. The pay for service desk went from $48K to $83 to $87K, and desktop support from $62K to $97K. Australian dollars, but that's still very good for the work. And workers had to be made internal staff of the company they served, not a dodgy third-party managed service contract within 2 years. It makes me smile knowing that the staff that could barely turn on a computer now have great pay and job security. Hey OP, I must say you really did sing like a bird to the union. And the best part? Your old workplace became a utopia for unqualified staff. I mean, who needs qualified staff when you can have bums filling seats, right? Jokes aside, it's great to see that you stood up for yourself and your fellow colleagues and spoke up against the unfair treatment. And boy, did the union deliver. You practically made America quake with your ammunition email. I'm sure the staff who couldn't turn on a computer properly are now celebrating with champagne and high fives. Kudos to you for making a positive change in their lives. Don't forget to subscribe and have a nice day.